down here in Parkersburg visiting from my home office in Pennsylvania, where I normally work. I came down to Parkersburg, West Virginia, to work with Joe Hurst, senior editor, and Tim Snyder, the editor-in-chief here at Woodcraft Magazine. We came down to confab on upcoming articles and to discuss how best to, present those articles and just kick around a lot of ideas. We like to do it. I'll get together like this once every couple months. Joe Hurst works from his home in Birmingham, Alabama, and Tim actually lives in Connecticut, but spends quite a bit of time down here in Parkersburg working on the magazine with the art staff. And we're actually meeting.
The weird thing that they'll never mention yet. No, they just grew up, that's all. They both went down very different paths, but they're still really close.
1 second, guys.
It's all good.
So many beautiful antiques. Hopefully you guys can see the store.
I'm definitely going to see.
I think you'll really love that. It was my father's. I worked there as a teenager. I loved it.
This would be a good program to have running when you're
It's great, yeah.
It really is. But it's a lot harder than I thought it would be.
That was an established business.
No, he's got that.
It is. But it's a lot harder than just running the store. It's buying merchandise and going to auctions and checking out estate sales.
Anyway.
When my father was around.
Well, we get together and
You hire somebody to help.
I can't afford it. I work for Pocket regular ways when you just keep praying something will happen to change things.
Something will happen.
Oh,
Don't move. There's sharks everywhere.
wait, I'll go get it.
No, I'll get it. It's just me. I'll take care of it.
maybe we'll get a little tour of the shop.
What are you doing?
Alice broke your favorite dish.
What was your favorite dish? I'm
Totally
so
your
sorry.
favorite. You broke it.
I was just messing with you. Can I help you clean this up? Almost comes with messages. You're gonna play, right? I'll just stay here. You guys play. I'm gonna stay and clean up. No, you have to. It's Christmas. The time when families love and give and share with each other. You were part of that.
Yeah.
I've never heard of this game.
That's because Mom made it up.
I did not make it up.
Did you mute your mic? There we go.
Hey, that fixed it.
All right. Can you hear me now, Steve?
Yeah.
Steve?
We can't hear him.
I think
Okay. All right.
we can't hear you. Steve, can you hear us? Nod your head. Yes, you can. We can't hear you. All right. Why is that?
Steve went.
I got it. Is that better?
Yeah,
there
that's
you
much
go,
better.
there
you go.
Oh, good, too.
Um,
All right. So,
so Paul, you want to take everybody on our quick
well,
tour?
here, actually, well, so what we're thinking here is that maybe we'll give you a quick tour of the Woodcraft Magazine workshop here, where we're all sitting. This is where we build some projects, do some photography. It's also actually kind of cooperative shop shared by some of the Woodcraft product guys. But we do some tool testing and things down here. Actually, I think I'm going to ask Joe Hurst to give you the tour here quickly, because he was actually involved in putting the shop together before I came on. So, Joe, let me turn this over.
Sure.
Here.
Why don't you follow me? You can be my cameraman.
All right, I'll try and do that.
Well, 8 years ago when I got this job, Woodcraft Magazine didn't have a shop. And that left us with borrowing the classroom space in Betty. Betty is the manager upstairs in store 301, which is the Woodcraft store. But if you guys have been to Woodcraft, you know that very often those are just like teaching shops. They'll have what they need to demonstrate the latest product or whatnot. It's not an operational shop, and it certainly wasn't the kind of thing where she wanted us taking it over for, you know, days at a time when we had projects to do for the magazine. So we took over the basement, and what this was a little more than 7 years ago was just warehouse space. And Jim Harold, then the editor-in-chief, convinced the folks at corporate that the magazine and corporate and everyone else needed a place where we could test things and do our catalog photography. So they framed the walls. We had somebody come in, and then Jim and a couple of woodworkers and myself started designing this as 3 different shops. So imagine the camera angles as they freeze from spot to spot. Over here, we've got a little turning corner, and whatever, if you guys can't hear me, just start waving like this and I'll yell. And that probably will be the easiest way. Over here, we've got a turning corner, and we've got a Nova lathe and a Jet lathe now. But those things come and go depending on what product Woodcraft is trying to get us to feature. We've got our baby here. This is the 12-inch Jet Planar Joiner, which we use more than anything else in the shop. This is what we call the high-end shop, and they designed this with nice birch cabinets, and find it appearing in more of our stories than not. Of course, in the center of the shop, we're set up with a nice saw stop, and that's turned out to be a lifesaver because we're doing a lot of work sometimes around photo shoots or late at night as we're prepping for the upcoming days. And this little corner over here is what we call the basement shop, and it was just set up with MDF and a smaller bench, and it was featured in our workshop issue, maybe 6 years ago, where, you know, all these cabinets could be knocked together for about $500. And that, of course, then there's the white cabinets that are on this side here, and these are the ones that product managers end up using. This is where it's all. And well, that's basically it. It looks like 3 shops, but we only have about a shop and a half's worth of tools. And depending on who's using what, they move from one shop to another. So the first day that you get back, if you have a photo shoot, is the day of tears, because you know that they're somewhere, and you have to open up every drawer, every cabinet, and find what was missing, and then set it up in one corner of the shop for the photo shoot. And then when you come back 2 months later, they kind of all disappear on you again.
Well, it's interesting. I mean, it's like a cooperative shop, you know, that I don't know, kind of ad hoc. I've been a member of various cooperative shops over the years, and they've been more or less successful. But any of you guys share a shop with anybody? You all have your own shops.
Well, do you count sharing it with my wife's car?
That's my situation too, Steve.
Oh, that's encouraging.
Yep, and everything in my shop is on wheels. So
Yep.
When we have to use the garage for its original purpose, I can move stuff out of the way.
I've given up trying. The car stays outside. Thank God I'm in Alabama.
Yeah. Our art director recently we featured a sort of a shop makeover, a garage shop makeover over at his place, and built a bunch of projects for it. It was a lot of fun. I mean, everybody kind of contributed something. You know, I built a router table. Joe built a sliding compound saw station, and it was great. It really ended up being quite a neat shop. And now he's really getting into woodworking. You know, young guy, and he's excited about it now, which is really cool. You know, you get younger people into the craft because you know, we're all of a certain age, aren't we?
Now, what are the woodworking specialties among this group here? Can we get an idea of the kind of woodworking that you guys do?
I piddle with furniture and with small things like pizza peels and cheese boards. And that's just because I'm trying to learn what I'm doing here.
That's cool, Mark.
Anybody else? We had empty couch now.
Golf Dad, I forget your real name.
Oh, his real name's Dirk.
Dirk, yeah. What do you do, Dirk? What kind of woodworking do you do?
Fellas.
Furniture.
Okay,
You got anything going currently?
hang on.
A bedroom set.
I'll be right back. Huh?
Wow.
Lovely home.
What about you, Rick? Are you there?
Rick, looks like Rick. Oh, there he comes.
Here he goes. Rick, what kind of woodworking you do, Rick?
These days, I do a little bit of everything. When I first started out some years ago, it's been, I guess, I originally started out in high school, but I got my own shop about 15 years ago, and I started out building furniture for the house. And then at some point, my wife said, stop building furniture, stop. We don't need any more. And so then I just started piddling. So now I just do whatever suits my fancy. I have a couple lathes, so I do a little turning here and there, and small projects, whatever. Or sometimes I might fix up an old machine or two. So
Cool. You must have built a boatload of furniture for her to say stop.
I'm still trying to finish the parts that I promised her.
I enjoy building it. She enjoys having it, but you can only have so much.
What about you, Steve? You got any projects going right now?
Currently, no. I mean, nothing to speak of. I do a lot of little stuff, scroll saw stuff. I just recently acquired a pin turning lathe, but I'm space limited. So most of my stuff's small, but I have built a little bit of furniture before. So
Yeah.
Well, speaking of scroll saw stuff, we had a guy come in last month. He writes a lot for Scroll Saw Magazine.
Mm-hmm.
Turns out that he has no shop. In the summertime, he sets his sander and his scroll saw up on his picnic table and rolls his couch out, or whatever, folding chair or something, so he can kind of work and enjoy the great outdoors. And during the colder weather, he sets his stuff up on his kitchen counter. And he's an older guy and he lives alone, so I'm sure it makes for an interesting breakfast with the sawdust sprinkled on top of everything. But we just he brought him in here and did this funky little lamp project. Oh, is it still plugged in?
We've been doing, plugged in. We do toys now and again, and this is kind of an example. This is what this old coot did.
You want me to turn it on, Paul?
Turn it on, yeah. It's a little lamp, and it's
wow.
offset cams underneath it.
Yeah.
Little kids.
From designing hospitals and surgery wings to designing, giraffes and dinosaurs that rattle and roll.
Yeah. Anyway.
Wow.
Well, we thought that was pretty cool. I did put a couple of things on the computer here to share with you guys real quick, to show you a few things that we've done in the magazine recently. Share screen, here it is. All right. Hopefully I can do this. Okay, here's the issue. Here's the latest issue, which just came out. Steve out of the way. Here they go. Cool. So the feature story was this Asian-inspired jewelry box, and it's really quite a nice little piece. One of our sort of regular contributors, named Jim Downing, designed and built this piece. A lot of techniques in it, including spline joinery. It's made out of wenge and what's the other? Bokote. But a lot of spline joinery, and he's got little trays in there, and really a nice little piece. Then we've got let's see here, got a story in there on one of our technique stories is Jizzle Rescue, which where we take you through, taking an old beater chisel like we see here on the left and, dressing it up, cleaning it up, sharpening it till you got something really beautiful and usable again. And it's not that much work really to do. And in a lot of cases, you rescue an old chisel, that old metal. I don't know about you, if you guys have ever done this, but a lot of times, I've found that the old steel is better in a lot of cases than the new stuff. But anyway, so we take you through, to begin with assessing the damage.
I like that page.
Yeah.
We're working with some real great illustrators. Paul's a good photographer, but you can't show all of those microscopic details the way that guy captured it. And hopefully it'll save someone from wasting time on a chisel that's beyond hope.
Right. So here, we show you the various defects and what you might want to try fixing and what's not worth the effort. And then we take you step by step through the 3 basic steps, which is step 1's flattening and polishing the back, and then going to the grinder to square up the edge and then grind the bevel, and then finishing up with honing the edge. And man, that thing is just killer sharp. It really, you could shave with it. So that's one of the stories.
I know that there's a lot of our members who would be interested in this. From time to time, questions come up about, refurbishing chisels and stuff like that.
Is that right? Yeah, it's really valuable to do. And, stuff doesn't take that much equipment to do. Everybody needs sharpening equipment.
It's sort of a crime when, you see an old beat up chisel, for like $2 at a garage sale. And, if nobody's going to buy it, it's going to go into the landfill.
Yeah.
And I supplied Paul with the chisel, and now I've got a brand new tool.
He's real happy with the outcome.
I am. Yes.
Here's this is the cover from our last issue, where we did this Arts and Crafts TV cabinet by Ken Burton, again, one of our sort of regular contributors. Really a fun piece to build. Nice looking piece too. He designed this specifically for the magazine. A lot of mortise and tenon joinery in it, and these cloud lift details, kind of sort of Arts and Crafts inspired. Really nice piece, but it really it's sort of traditional design, but suited for contemporary TV watching.
Mm-hmm.
Nice piece for people who like to build furniture.
I liked his bench.
Oh, let me see here. Yeah, let me go back to that. Oh, the bench. Yeah, right. That's cute, isn't it?
Yeah. Looked like trash cans he was setting it on.
Well, it's funny, Steve. We set that shot up at his shop. He's one of these guys. Remember at the last chat, Steve, we were talking about how some of the nastiest looking shops yield some of the nicest furniture.
Yep.
Ken's got a shop that it's got like one spot in the shop that's really kind of photogenic, and that's the spot that we used. And so we just used a couple of they were just, I don't know, big flower pots or some damn thing, so that we could set this thing up temporarily for the shot with this tool cabinet and stuff in the background.
I think the next project we're going to ask Ken to design and build is an assembly table.
Yeah.
There you go. Yes.
Let me see here. And then we've got, it's kind of neat, Steve. I like being able to share stuff on the screen like this. Let's see, next up. Oh, we had another story in this issue that just came out on making hand mirrors, monogrammed hand mirrors. This young woman here is an instructor at J.D. Lohr School of Woodworking in Schwenksville, Pennsylvania. And she makes these hand mirrors like you see here. But what's really cool is the mirrors themselves are pretty easy to make and nice, and you can make the handles in a variety of ways. But she also, here we go. Let's see, get the next page here. But what was cool is is she's got this technique for carving monograms with V router bits.
Freehand.
Freehand. And like if you look at the top picture on here, she uses a computer with a projector to project, monograms from Photoshop or something right onto the mirror, which is clamped in a vise here. And she just traces it on there, then outfits her router with a V bit and starts with just shallow passes in the center of the letters, and then goes through those as sort of guide grooves, if you will, and deepens them and ends up with these beautiful monograms. It was just really a neat technique. I mean, you can see like on these mirrors here how nice it came out. Wonderful presence too, and it's one of those things where you can use that some treasured board of wood that you'd stashed for a while. Doesn't take a lot of wood and a lot of materials, and it's just a great way to personalize a gift. So let me see here, and then
Back up for a second, Paul. Can we see the crowd again?
Oh yeah, sure. Hold on a second here. Stop the share. Here we go. Yeah.
My question is, how many of you guys actually have seen? How many subscribe to Woodcraft Magazine? Hey, there's a hand.
All right.
And have the rest of you guys seen the magazine? I mean, over at Woodcraft, cool. Okay.
I have seen a few issues of it. I'm not a subscriber, but I've seen it.
We've got to do something about that.
Yeah, well, it is. I mean, it looks, the few issues I've seen, it looks like a really well put together magazine. Very professional.
You'll love it now. We just went through the first stage for redesign, where we're bigger photos, nicer figures, and we're going through this under Tim's leadership. Where come this time next year, a lot of that stuff will just be commonplace.
Yeah, we really decided to Tim really we moved over to larger photos and bigger drawings. I mean, just much better visuals. I mean, so many of us. I mean, that's what you really need. You just need to be able to see things better, and we work hard at composing the photos to maximize the information and all that. So I don't know. We really we put a lot of work, a lot of sweat into the projects that we produce for the magazine. But I think even for someone who's been a subscriber for a long time, you see a lot of changes for the better going forward here.
Yeah, I think one of the things that we're doing now as a way of improving the presentation for woodworkers like you guys is that instead of spending valuable space on the page covering virtually every step in a project, what we do is we focus on the tricky stuff, or on the steps where you use a special jig or a special technique, because that's we don't need to have a step in there in every project about dimensioning lumber or cutting parts to size. That's the way that some of these magazines are produced. We think it's more useful to have people be able to focus on those key steps that really make the difference in a project. So whenever we put together the plan for an article, that's what we're working. And the operative term we use around here is where's the magic? And that's why we think that's the sort of value proposition that we're trying to put together for our readers.
I thought the larger photos might be because some of us are getting older.
Oh, you figured it out.
Yeah.
Okay, well, now that it's been exposed, the next issue is going to come out with type this big too.
Exactly.
Larger photos need to be wall size at this point.
Oh.
Well, a lot of our readers now are getting the issues digitally.
Mm-hmm.
That helps because then it's just as big as your screen, and you can see the color and the resolution of these images better than what we're sometimes able to produce with the paper and printing issues. I mean, these days the cameras can do everything, but we're still working with printer technology that smears a little bit when it drops the ink.
Do you guys read, who reads digital magazines? I mean, who reads the digital versions of magazines? Any of you guys? No? Rick, you do? Yeah. I mean,
Once in a while, yeah, I have in the past. Not very often. I don't really like to read on my computer all that much, but I have read in the past a few times.
yeah, I wonder about that too. I mean, I don't know. I still, there's something I like about paper, but like Joe was pointing out, there's advantages too, where you can zoom in on drawings and stuff.
Right. Yeah.
I guess, I don't know. It sort of has to do with, what you can see. And I don't like sitting at a computer reading a magazine. And I have an iPad, a tablet. But, and that, you can zoom in on stuff there too. But then you're only looking at a portion of a page. I don't know. It's funny. I don't know. I'm kind of like Rick. I think I still prefer paper in a lot of ways.
The nice thing about digital is it takes up a lot less space.
Yeah,
It's true. That's true. But I think, if you guys haven't checked out our website, our new website, I would, I hope you do so, because we redesigned that too. And, we've got, we're starting to put in, blogs from the editorial staff here and from guest bloggers. And we also have a bunch of videos. Those are things that are great on the web. So what we're trying to do is find that sweet spot between what presents well in print and what presents well online. And input from folks like you can help us to keep doing the right thing. So I hope you check it out.
Well, I think in the next issue, and this is one that we're doing as a tester, we've got a project that's pretty elaborate. And because, again, how much can you see in a drawing, we're going to offer the plans on SketchUp. And if anyone is, those people who are really interested in taking it apart and figuring out what's up, they can go online and hopefully we'll get people to vote and say, hey, was this helpful to you? And if it is, well, then we'll consider including that as one of our art expenses for certain projects where it just kind of offers that opportunity to spin it around and tear it apart and see exactly what it is that you're curious about. How do you guys do work on SketchUp? I mean, I know there's that big crowd with Pop that would share designs, but you guys still, I see 3 hands that didn't go up. Sketching on a cocktail napkin, drafting board, yeah, high school shop class. It's good skills.
Well, I find that I don't want detailed plans when I start something. I mean, that's just me. You give me, some basic dimensions and I'll go from there and adjust along the way. But for like some of the scroll saw projects, I want a detailed plan for that. I don't want to have to make any alterations along the way.
So you're talking about patterns then, Steve, right?
Yeah.
If you can print out a full-size pattern, that really saves you a lot of time.
Sure.
Yeah, we're always up against, it's interesting. A lot of guys like, and it's understandably so, like a cut list. You have a project and, like a cut list. And in the past, we've provided them, but it's a funny thing because it's kind of misleading. I mean, you guys who build furniture, you know what it's like. It's like, your cut list is very useful when you're cutting your parts to rough size to begin with. Then if you're making a case, there's certain definite sizes that you want to begin with. Your case sides, for example, bottom, top, and all that. But once you get past a certain point, it's deceptive to list the size of a rail or stile, or at least the length of it, because you're going to fit a space or a drawer front and all that. So I don't know. I mean, well, let me ask you guys. I mean, if you read magazines, do you like cut lists or do you do you prefer to make your own or what? I don't know. Rick, I
I
mean,
always make my own cut list. I mean, it's nice to see them, but to be honest, I'm not accurate enough for a cut list to be that meaningful. I'll miss something a 1/16 of an inch, and then the cut list is shot because I'm having to adjust everything. So the major sizes are important to me. The general dimensions, those that bring the proportions correct. But the detailed cut list, I'm gonna have to do that anyway.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's why that's one of the reasons why we stopped putting in those detailed cut lists that give the idealized finished dimensions of every part, because it's misleading, as Paul said. Once you get beyond a certain point in your project, everything is cut to fit. And if you're pre-cutting virtually everything on the cut list and then hoping it's all going to fit together at the end, you're going to be in for a nasty surprise.
Everybody
There's a lot of things that way.
once. They all make that mistake once. They cut all the parts according to the cut list, and then they discover that it doesn't work that way. Now, the problem is that might happen once to you and you and you, but when that happens the first time, they all call us. So a project that has that magic beginner appeal, this looks like a simple project that I can do. Then all of a sudden for the next month, it's bang, 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 bang. That was off by a 1/16. How could you have done that to me? Wait, was it your saw? Was it your box? And then it's all these reader questions where you have to say, this was bound to happen. This was bound to happen, but now you know. And
I rarely build something the exact size that it's in the magazine. I'll usually change it somehow, so I usually don't even use a cut list.
Right.
oh, sure.
I find cut lists very useful with sheet goods.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Less so when you start working with rough lumber. That's
Right.
yeah, that's a great point, Rick. I mean, and actually, what we've been doing because of that is very often if we have a project that uses a lot of sheet goods, we recognize that we can save you guys a lot of time, and since we've already figured it out, but we don't want to use up a quarter of a page in the magazine to show you the cutting diagram. And that's the beauty of the web these days, is we can just put it online. We say, look, just go to the website, woodcraftmagazine.com, and there you go. You'll find the cutting diagram and other auxiliary stuff that comes in useful. So that's beautiful about the web.
Changing the subject slightly, an article on how to be a more precise woodworker would be helpful to me. I mean, every time I ask, well, how do you get good at this? It's go make a lot of sawdust. Well, the pile of sawdust gets pretty deep pretty fast, and I'm still not that much better.
Well, can you be more particular about the kind of precision that you're talking about? In other words,
At the saw, at the router table.
yeah.
See, part of this is I'm still new enough that I'm having to learn. At the saw, okay, I can certainly get a 1/16. I can probably get a 32nd. I hope I don't have to be much more accurate than a 32nd.
Well, one of the tricks that I've got, and I'm the youngest of the three here, is that when it comes to setting the machines, I've got the setup blocks, and rather than squint, I like to feel or hear, because if you stack those setup blocks such where you know that you're at a quarter of an inch away or up or down, that's pretty locked in. The other thing is watch your steps in your sequence. So if you're going to cut everything at this width, you set up that cut once and you're cutting everything at once, because then you're not going back and trying to set up that 4-inch wide rail because you forgot to cut it before, because then you're going to end up chasing it.
Sure. And I guess all I'm talking about is, to you guys, that's second nature. In that particular step, I learned a long time ago too. Try and set it up once. Don't ever try and set up twice, because you can't get there unless you've got numerically controlled machines. But there are other things that you know off the back of your hand that some of us that are just learning, we don't know. So even just a compilation of some of that collective wisdom, set up once, or the thing about using stacked blocks. Hey, I'm a squinter. I'm there. I've thought about getting the numerical gauges, the eye gauges things, and all that kind of jazz. And I actually have a digital gauge on my planer that gets within 1/100 of an inch. Okay, that's close enough for me. But the stack blocks, to me, that just looked like a gimmick. But here you're saying you really use it. Some things like that you just know because of your experience might be helpful. Just an idea. And maybe I'm just off the wall. I'm a mechanical engineer by training, so a thousandth of an inch means something to me, but it doesn't mean anything in wood, obviously. But 3 or 4 thousandths does. I don't want my saw blade wobbling 5 thousandths.
Well, so many of us woodworkers, we get hard by making mistakes. But one of the things that has helped me out a lot is that my wife is really, really fussy about what I build. And so what the agreement that we've sort of come to is I'm going to build a mock-up. And, sometimes I do, I can do a full-size mock-up of a cabinet or something like that, and I'll just use MDF or cheap plywood. And the way that feeds into precision is that by going over the operations of actually making that mock-up, I can make my mistakes in really cheap material. And I can sort of go through the sequence of making things. And like Joe said, I can make sure that I take advantage of every saw or router table setup fully before I break it down. So we're gonna be doing a story about using mock-ups to help you be more successful with your projects. The other reason that I like it is that I hate making a mistake in a really expensive piece of wood. It's really, really discouraging when you're making a project and just because you were rushing or you didn't anticipate or you didn't plan well, you end up miscutting something, and then suddenly you've got a really valuable piece of firewood.
Well, have you ever been to the Winterthur Museum, where they have all of those $1 million, the best pieces of history? You take a real close look at those, you're going to see that they all have, almost, I'd say just about all of them, 99% of them have some award-winning fluff. And you get yourself, you go there with the curator, and what they're going to do is, oh, well, that's where the back split out, and that's where they ran out of wood and had to use a mismatched drawer side, and here's where the wood cracked. I mean, it's woodworking isn't perfect, so join the club. The other tip is to get good with planes so that you can clean up the damage before anyone else sees that you're off by a couple thousand.
Okay.
One of the things.
Go ahead.
Well, one of the things that I like to do is to start with my largest pieces first, and then if I screw those up, I've got somewhere to go. I can cut them down for the smaller pieces.
That's a great tip.
That's right. That's
The other thing, Steve, along that line, another thing that I do all the time is if I'm trying a new technique, if it's just something I'm unfamiliar with, a particular new beading router cut or something, I always make it a point to do that somewhere like on the back side of the back leg. You begin there because you may screw it up. But that's right. Start in the big pieces.
Well, Tim and I started out as carpenters, and what you learn there is that there's cuts that count and cuts that don't.
Yeah.
The guy who's the framer who's cutting his studs within a 1/16 of an inch, he's the framer who's not going to be able to feed his kids at the end of the week. So you keep moving, and you realize that, okay, when you get to the trim work, that's where you have to be fussy. So, if you have that level of precision on everything, eventually you're going to burn out, or you're never going to finish that project. You say to hell with it because it's not perfect and walk away. And then not finishing that project, that doesn't give you the opportunity to develop the skills you need to make that next piece right.
It's funny, Joe was talking about, flubs, that the old timers made. We think, ooh, they did everything so well. The funniest one I remember was reading an anecdote about somebody who was looking at, scrutinizing like an old piano, beautiful piano. But when they peered inside, there was a big it was a hardened pool of like hide glue that somebody dropped on the soundboard. It just didn't clean up. I mean, yeah, on the soundboard too.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's interesting too. I mean, you look at when you look at old pieces too, you can see that like even if like the inside of a beadboard cabinet back or something was fairly nicely finished. If you look around the back of it where nobody's going to see it, you can see these big, plow plane marks and stuff. I mean,
Well, and tear out on the old turn chairs and stools was just a mark of handwork. There's a fellow that we work with in Philly. You guys have probably heard of Mario Rodriguez. And when he's having a great day, and I mean, everything is working just right, his finishes are absolutely perfect. But when that wood flips grain on him and there's a little piece of tear out, he'll look at it and go, it's a hand plane surface. What do you want? I mean, that's the mark that makes it. I could have thrown through a sander. He's got it there. But that's part of the proof of the pudding. I mean, the rest of this is absolutely gorgeous, and there's that one tool mark that shows you, just what happened.
Do you guys have any questions? Anything, about the magazine or woodworking in general?
Yeah. How far in advance are you guys working on stories?
Well, that's a very apropos question, because one of the reasons we all got together here in Parkersburg this week was to look at the entire 2016 schedule of issues, and we sort of put our heads together, and some projects are really rock solid, which means we've got an author, we've got a design, and the project's underway, and other projects are, they're on our wish list, but we haven't figured out what author / woodworker that we're going to match up with this. And then some projects, we've got some special features going into the magazine that we're going to be generating ourselves. So, and like I said earlier, the mix of every issue is really important. We want to keep tapping into that variety of woodworking topics, so that that's what keeps people subscribing. If you want them to say, well, I can't wait to see what's in the next issue. So we want to have a real variety of techniques and projects. Something for everything, for everyone.
If one of you guys had a nice jewelry box, or a workbench, or an assembly table, just give us a call. We'll make it happen.
Yeah.
Always, we're all about going out. I've got a buddy in Clemens. Tim's got family in Greensboro. So yeah. We're looking for an excuse to come up.
Hey, that sounds great.
Yeah, I think I'd like to do a story on. I'd like to have an excuse to go to Pittsburgh and check out that antique, tool shop.
Yeah,
that's a
place.
Yep.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, working so far ahead. I mean, we might be working in some cases on a story that's scheduled for 3 issues from now. Maybe 6 months down the line or something. But it's a funny dance to have all these stories going at the same time, because you got an author working ahead on something. It's kind of like working on 3 different commissions for a client, and somebody needs something done by Thanksgiving, and somebody else has, I don't know, got more leeway. I don't know.
Oh, I was in the Christmas mood back in September. So now my wife is like getting ready to decorate. It's like, oh, honey, I already dressed up like that when it was like 90 degrees outside. I'm done. We're thinking three projects. We've got a patio table and chair that will be built during the Christmas season. And then come January, thanks to living in Birmingham, I'm going to try to find a warm patio somewhere, buy some plants from the greenhouse, set it up, find a model who wouldn't mind wearing shorts on hopefully a warm day. Although we've had cold days where we've thrown them in there because that's what they do. And then make it look like spring because we have to get that photo taken in time for the printer. So it messes with your head, let me tell you. I mean, everyone else is like feeling the holiday spirit. You're done.
Hey, so can we pick your brains? What do you guys like to see in a woodworking magazine? Anything?
Paul, but before we get to that, let me back up to something that Joe said. You were talking about a workbench.
Yes.
Let me show you a picture. Now, this is obviously not mine.
Oh. Oh, that's sweet.
That's not mine either.
Where did you blue?
That was done by one of our members.
Wow, that's beautiful. Now, what is that? What is that dark wood? Is that Paduke?
It's Purple Heart.
Purple Heart. Okay. Wow.
Steve, who did that?
I don't know right off. Right now he's trying to sell it.
That's why I remember that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So,
Well, the last photo shoot I was doing, it was a long day. I was telling the photographer to do one thing as I was setting up for the next shot, and I honestly didn't remember that the router was on when it was unplugged. So when I plugged it back in, it danced across a corner of my bench.
wow.
Yeah, it happens. I'm not saying that bench would be a suitable one for my next purchase because that's
Well, I think he's wanting $2,500 for it, so it's not in my future either.
Wow.
I wonder how many hours he had.
No idea.
How many hours he actually used it, because I would be afraid to. That's
Right.
too.
did he use it? Do you know if he used it?
No, I don't know. I think he won some awards with it. I'm not sure if he used it.
Well, even if I could afford it, I think it'd be too heavy for my truck's suspension. So out of play here.
Free shipping. Anything over $100. That's how it works.
That's right.
You guys ever put a lot of work into making some really nice cutting board that you really happily give to somebody and they like won't use it? I'm not putting a knife to that.
Yep.
That's right.
Yep.
That's
Which is even worse when my wife uses it because she uses a steak knife on the cutting boards that I make. And the serrated, that just does wonders, man. I tell you, it cuts through everything.
That's right. So, I'm sorry, Paul, I interrupted you a minute ago. You were asking a question?
Oh yeah, I was just wondering if you guys, what you like and don't like about woodworking magazines. I mean, if you don't mind picking your brains.
It's difficult for me to describe that because there are certain projects that I like to look at, not that I would ever do. I mean, that workbench is a good example. It's great eye appeal, but I'll never attempt it. And then there are some that inspire me to want to do it, and it's difficult for me to describe that. I mean, to tell you which ones, that really that call to me and says, I got to try that. So,
I'm just curious. I mean, I know that when I first started doing woodworking, I was like, I would just read all kinds of articles and really scrutinize the drawings and stuff, even if I had no intention of building the project, just to learn about joinery. And you'd read through looking for a tip on a better way to plane or something. I don't know.
That's a lot of what I read magazines for, in years past was I mostly looked at the joinery. I think I've rarely ever actually built a project from a magazine, at least exactly the way it was built in a magazine, but I do look at the joinery, and it's interesting because, different magazines have their own styles of putting things together. And even over time, those styles tend to sort of stay similar, and so I find that kind of interesting. I will say the one thing I'm sort of glad to see is that I've noticed that a lot of magazines are sort of getting away, or I should say getting into other styles of furniture besides just arts and crafts and shaker but I'm seeing other styles creeping in, mid-century and contemporary and things like that, and really that's something I would really look forward to, see other types of other things. So
That's good. That's helpful. Yeah.
We're going to do a Rococo bench for you, Rick.
all right. Hey, I mean, things like that are interesting because it's,
Yeah. What about the rest of you guys? Anything particular? I don't know. If you could say, hey, would you do this for me in a magazine? What might it be? I don't know. We look for a lot of feedback from.
I'm opposite of Rick. I mean, I'm going to build something that's usable. I'm not into the older style furniture like fine woodworking and stuff like that. Something that somebody's going to use in their house and maybe purchase or to that line.
You mean, practical things like, like a bench that's got built-in storage or,
right.
A wall organizer, stuff like that.
And all household furniture, but normal use furniture like mission, I like green and that kind of thing. But I think it's a lot more. Not many people are going to buy the high end stuff, and that's kind of where I go.
Well, I've got a question for the gang, and there's some magazines that favor hand tools almost exclusively. There's others that swear that everything can come straight off a table saw. What's the mix here in this digital crowd? I mean, just kind of go down the line and how. What would you say is your blend of power and hand tools?
Mine is mostly power tools, but I do have a few hand tools that I throw in occasionally.
And what?
Probably 90-10.
Yeah.
What's your go-to tools for hand tools?
Planes, scrapers.
Okay.
planes, chisels, sometimes saws, whatever's the most efficient. I build one thing at a time, so oftentimes it's just as fast to pick up a hand tool and do one thing as to set up a machine to do it. I can do it faster with a hand tool. So now if I have to do multiples, then I'll take the time to set it up. But,
I'm the same, mainly power tools.
Cool. Does everybody here have a table saw?
oh yeah. Yeah.
And how about lathes?
Yep.
Yep. I have two right now.
Wow. Okay.
One doesn't count though. It's just for looks. It's a 1930s Goodell Pratt, so it doesn't. I don't use it.
It's just a work of art.
It just collects dust. It's what it does.
Now, are there any women in your women woodworkers in your club?
Absolutely. In fact, one of the board members, actually, we've had women for the past probably 5-6 years on the board.
Really, that's great. That's great. We the last two issues have both featured women woodworkers in our magazine, and Paul showed you one article by one of them, and then we we did another article in the previous issue about a mid-century modern knockdown desk, which was pretty neat design.
We've had a number of women on the chat with us. So.
How did you drive up the number to 8,000? I mean, when it seems like woodworking, when you listen to people, that it's all dying out. But at 8,000, I mean, you must have. Well, how do they find you? What do you do to drum up such enthusiasm?
Well, that's very interesting. A lot of it comes unsolicited. We're getting about 2 new members every single day.
Whoa.
Well, our membership is primarily located here in North Carolina and surrounding states. But you have to, if you lived in Pennsylvania, you'd have to prove a connection to North Carolina before we let you in. But it's all free.
A connection or just a great affection.
There you go. Yeah.
I know Steve Honeycutt. Is that
That's good enough.
Kim's mom lives there. There you go.
Yeah, my mom and my sister. Yeah.
But we cover, on the forum, we cover such a wide variety of topics. When somebody is searching for something, they will, that's how they find us a lot of the time.
Do you have forum moderators? I mean, does each section have a
Yes.
designated volunteer?
Yes.
Nice.
And we do that primarily to keep it family friendly.
Good call.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. That's great.
And in fact, we've had kids be members, and it literally is family friendly. So.
Yes, it's funny. I know we were showing you like that kids project and that. I just know a lot of us are making stuff for our grandkids these days. The wife, yeah, it's like no more, but the kids they're digging it.
Yeah. And we've also got an outreach program where we have outfitted a trailer with, see if I can get this right, 3 lathes, 2 scroll saws, a benchtop drill press, a benchtop bandsaw, and lots of hand tools. And we take woodworking to different groups.
Wow.
Well, that'd be cool for news and views.
Yeah,
Wouldn't mind doing a little spot there.
That would be, that'd be great to publicize. Yeah, I'd love to learn more about that.
I know a lot of the guilds are looking for things to do with their members, and the Alabama Woodworkers Guild that I'm a part of, it's a lot of retirees, and they're on the toy bandwagon, like a lot of you guys are. And you know, when you've made 6,000 one year, and then what are you going to do? Well, we're going to make 6,500, 8,000, 9,000. You know, at a certain point, either you get to, all right, we don't need any more toys, or these guys get tired of working in that labor camp because, you know, they need something new to do. And that might be an interesting feature. I'll get in touch with you. Maybe I can, get some photos of the next outing you happen to go on, or something in the library.
Some of the groups that we've worked with the Wounded Warriors program.
Right.
We've worked with Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, different youth groups, firefighters. And so the idea is that these people come with virtually no knowledge of woodworking, and they leave with at least one, sometimes more, finished projects in the span of 2 to 3 hours.
Is insurance a problem?
I know we've got insurance, but I don't know the details of it.
Okay.
So.
Well, it sounds like you guys are setting a really good example that other guilds, could follow. So, we would certainly like to find out more, and maybe we could work out a guest blog on our magazine website.
Sure.
To describe this, if you can, work through Paul, email him some photos, and let's see if we can spread the word.
Or even a little something like this. I imagine if we had a night where we make it known that, this person will be talking about this, and a couple of guilds meet up, 4 or 6 people, that'd make it worthwhile.
Sure.
And we're there too. Cool.
We can do that.
Just seems so important for some people, just to get wood out in front of them, especially kids. I remember I was doing this woodworking show at one time, and we were doing a hand plane demo, and this kid came up. He must have been, I don't know, he was maybe he was maybe 12 or something. And we said, you ever done this before? He goes, no. So we handed him a plane. It was amazing. This kid took this number 4 plane, and he approached this board without any instruction. He approached this board. He put the front of the sole down on the board with the cutter off, and ran down the length of the board, came back slightly overlapping that first. It was just like started again. It was like perfect. We just went up to him and said, you got to get this boy some training. I mean, he was born to work wood.
Wow.
And you know, had he not happened by the bench, who knows? He might not have flowered in that way. I don't know.
I've got some of my best scars from the saws and shit that I stole from my dad's garage and was messing around behind, cutting down branches from the trees. They heal quick then, you know, it's not a big deal.
So, in fact, one of the projects that we do with the kids in the outreach program is a lightsaber.
Oh, that sounds great.
Oh,
Yeah.
So they turn the handle, and we put a flashlight. The handle's already bored. One end is for PEX plastic pipe. The other end is for an LED flashlight. And then they're turning the handle and putting their own design on it. And then they put the flashlight in, put the plastic on, and then they have to find a dark space to turn the flashlight on to watch it glow.
How long is this PEX pipe that you're talking about?
It's, I don't know, maybe 20 inches. Dirk, do you remember? I think Dirk's left us.
You're giving a bunch of kids lightsabers that are 20-inch long pieces of plastic pipe, and then you leave. Oh, I like your style, man. I get into trouble big time.
There's been a few battles anyway. So, but one group, they made the kids now. I mean, you know, we're pre-cutting some things for them,
Sure.
but they're putting them together. They made a birdhouse, a bandsaw box, and a lightsaber in the span of about 3 hours, from start to finish. They did it. We did not.
Wow.
We're there to help them a little bit and, you know, give them some ideas, but they do it.
Wow. Now this trailer, where does this trailer normally reside?
It moves around.
Okay.
And different members will take it to different locations for, you know, various events. So
So how did this get like outfitted and stuff? Did the group talk about it and pool together resources? Did somebody donate the band? I mean,
okay, so to run the website, we asked for donations, and the donations had accumulated for several years, more than what was needed to operate the website. And so the board decided to branch out and do an outreach program, especially since our primary mission is education.
that's great.
That's great. Let me just, to satisfy my own curiosity, how many of you guys also do, you know, home improvement projects that have a sort of a woodworking aspect to them, like, you know, trim carpentry, you know, wainscot paneling, crown molding?
Usually by choice.
That's not fun. You're using the tools for that job.
Yeah, I've done some of that as well. So,
but on the flip side, when you tell your wife that you're doing it for the house, you can buy that nicer nailer or that nicer saw, because look, it'll pay for itself, honey, really.
oh yes.
She knows better. At this point, she knows much better.
In fact, our forum, they're great enablers. So you thinking about buying something, they'll give you every excuse you need in order to buy it.
Mutual support system. Yeah, I like that.
Absolutely.
You guys have any tool trade? Is there like a place if someone needs, I don't know, a multi-tool to handle a job that they can go on the forum and say, who's got one and how can I borrow it? Does that work too?
Absolutely. And
you don't need like nailers, you don't need them all.
right.
Sometimes it's handy to have 2 or 3 for different jobs.
Right. Well, there's another interesting aspect to the website in that we've got a program called Pony Express, where if you buy something on one end of the state and you need to get it to the other, you post it. Somebody's generally traveling in the state. Now, it may make 2 or 3 handoffs, but it works.
Wow.
That's very cool.
I like that.
So it's
Yeah, I've been, since I'm in the center of the state, I've been the stop for several. So
That's great. Well, look, North Carolina is a mighty long state. I can testify to that. It
it is.
takes a long time to get from Asheville to what is it, Wilmington, or
Right?
that's a long ride.
Yes, it is.
Takes forever. When I go home to Ohio, half my trip is getting out of North Carolina.
That's right.
What kind of woods, what kind of domestic woods do you guys have down there that, I don't know, might be special, to the area, or might not see elsewhere? Or is
What's
it pretty
North
much,
Carolina good for?
right, I mean, or is it pretty much just the, usual selection of East Coast hardwoods? Everything special?
Yellow pine, hackberry.
Hackberry, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything really too special.
I don't know. Osage orange.
Yeah, we got that up here too.
Okay.
Rick, have you ever worked with hackberry, Rick?
I have once, yeah. I made a bowl out of hackberry.
I've cut it up for firewood, and it really seemed a little troublesome to me, even just as firewood, but it was kind of pretty.
Yeah, it was, when I first started looking at it, at first I thought it was kind of ugly, and I made a bowl out of it as kind of practice. And it kind of grew on me. The more I looked at it, the more I liked it. And it came to be one of my favorite bowls, especially, I guess, sort of after, as it started to dry, and it just sort of, it looked better. It just, so I don't know. I like it. I would definitely, make something from it again. So
It gets better with age.
I guess so.
I'm glad something does. So what about salvaged wood? That's a pretty big trendy thing these days. We hear a lot about that. Is that a buzzword among woodworkers down where you guys are?
Well, I just picked a dresser up off the side of the road about a month ago, and brought it home and tore it apart. Kept all the drawer fronts, the drawer bottoms, the drawer sides were all. Actually, it was parts of 2 different dressers I found. The drawer sides were all oaks on one, poplar on the other. The drawer bottoms were mahogany plywood, 1/4-inch mahogany plywood. The drawer fronts were a mahogany plywood, and the sides I ended up scrapping. They had been damaged too much.
But there is a big push for recycled wood or reclaimed wood, at least where I live, and people are all into making stuff out of pallets. That's real popular. I haven't done it because it's frankly pretty dangerous on a saw blade, I found. But I did make a large harvest table out of reclaimed lumber that was reclaimed floor joist from a house 150 years old.
Wow.
For a client. I've just found it to be a pain to work with. It's a whole lot cheaper and easier to use fresh stuff, to be honest.
Yeah, sure. Now, I could be wrong, but there's a trade organization called the Building Materials Reuse Association, and I think their annual meeting is in Raleigh or Durham, and it's sometime in the spring. So if any of your members are nearby and they want to check into that, just go to their website, Building Materials Reuse Association. I've been to one of their trade shows. It's a lot more. There's a lot more there than just wood, because they're salvaging a lot of different old building materials. But it's I like that kind of stuff, so I enjoy it.
Well, if you get to Durham, there's a business that all they do is recycle old building materials, doors, windows, cabinets, the whole 9 yards. And they have a lot of really, really old housing timbers, particularly. I mean, 16 quarter, all kind of stuff. It's just common, but you know, it's the South. It's termite infested. I mean, usually the bugs are dead, but the holes are there. It makes an interesting piece of furniture. It's just extremely difficult to work with. And of course, nails, staples, brads, whatever, are a significant issue.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
The problem I have with the pallet furniture stuff is it still looks like pallets. So I don't care for that style.
That shabby chic is I don't know. I think it's because people haven't really found real wood yet, or they somehow think, look, honey, how much time I'm saving. Well, what's your time worth, man? I mean, look, if you're going to spend the weekend in the garage, would you like to spend half of it pulling out spiral nails, or you want to spend half of it actually, you know, working on wood that smells nice and you're not shooting sparks every time you make a cut?
Yeah.
When the first time you take one of those boards and you put it through your planer and you hear that tink, and then you look at the blade, you don't want to do that again. It's just not worth it.
Well, back in the early '80s, when I just started my writing and editing career, I joined the staff of Fine Home Building, and you know, we were all, you know, wood butchers at that point. And I remember a lot of the Japanese motorcycles, Yamahas and Hondas, used to come in on pallets, and the pallets were teak, because that was a scrap wood. You know, that was the junk wood in the Far East at that point. And I don't think they do that anymore. But back then, there was sort of a rush on the local Honda or Yamaha dealer to just, I mean, you know, they never had to throw their pallets away, because we're you know, rating them for teak, and you could get some really choice boards there.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, at the warehouse here at Woodcraft, somebody came across one time in a pallet, and they turned the pallet over, that one of the boards had this really nice carving on the underside, like, I don't know, it had come from a dresser or something. And it was this beautiful carving just on this one board, this one 8-inch wide board. Somebody used it for, you know, that, I don't know.
Yeah, made a mistake. And then, well, there it goes to the motorcycle plant, man.
Now, do you guys get your lumber at like Home Depot and Lowe's, or do you have an independent lumber dealers?
Well, see, that's another good thing about the forum is we've got a number of sawyers on the forum who supply wood.
Ah, wow.
We've got one who specializes in quarter sawn white oak. And he's got some really nice stuff. And he's got his own kiln and stuff like that.
Gee, I'm thinking maybe we need a North Carolina office of the magazine, guys.
Well, you're hoping to retire a little bit closer to the office. There you go, Tim.
You know, Greensboro's not a bad place, and you know, we need a wood store.
All right. Well, we'll open up another magazine office down there and a woodcraft store. I mean, North Carolina, that was the hub, right? That was
That's
the hub.
right.
Yeah. Not that long ago, right? I mean, when we were young. Well,
Oh, we still have in the city right next to me, High Point, North Carolina, we have a furniture show that happens twice a year, and we will get 100,000 visitors.
yeah, wow.
Yeah, that's right.
That's great.
Yeah, boy.
Yeah. Well, listen, you know, it's been really fun, Steve. I really enjoyed our chats, you know. I enjoyed sitting in on the member chats as well. You know, maybe you can continue to send the links.
Be happy to.
I think that's great. And, you know, copy these guys too, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I think I'm cool on this technology. I think this is great. And especially when you can share what you're working on.
Absolutely.
there was a message saying, hey, you know what, we've got a jig contest going on, or I don't know, we're looking at different bowls, and people all took a moment to take a couple of camera phone shots and had stuff to share. That could be a fun night of computer time.
Oh, we love pictures. We've got it. Each member, when you sign up, gets your own gallery.
Oh,
And
That's great. That's great. And let's definitely follow up on that trailer, traveling, woodworking wood shop show, because that's really good news. And you know what, if other guilds and associations can be inspired to introduce young woodworkers to the craft, I think that's really great.
sure, I'll be happy to follow up on that.
that's
That's
great.
great.
Well, have a great Thanksgiving, you guys.
That's right. Yeah, thanks for
Thanks.
joining.
Thank you.
It's been a good chat.
Yeah, thanks
Yeah, this is
for
good.
joining us. And Paul, like I said earlier, we're going to have you back. We still haven't talked about your table saw book, or your router class, or
That sounds good. I enjoy that.
so. All right. Well, thank you guys.
Thanks, guys.
Hey, thanks,
So long,
guys.
Thanks, guys.